Eternal Garden, Central Habitat. "Could you stop with that annoying chirping?" Alchu asked, as his friend and now boss walked with an air of pleased smugness that seemed all too natural for him to do. "At least close the channel, Jincho." Jincho stopped his happy chirping just long enough to give a proper reply. "Oh, Alchu, do you even know me? My genius has been finally recognized, and by a human princess no less. I haven't been this happy since the day we left the hierarchy. I've revised their military structure and titles. The title of head researcher, engineer, and master technician doesn't exist. I'm surprised you are happy with being given a made-up title, Jincho," Fashik pointed out with mild humor. "Bah! What are titles if not made up in the first place? Recognition and value are what truly matter. So what if my new rank didn't exist before? It does now, and with it comes the opportunity to let me work as I want. Pretty Eyes is backing me, and has given me and all of us permission to tear apart that Corvette. Oh, the things I will learn!" "You're ever the optimist," Feshik replied, but was unable to deny his reasoning. "I'm really surprised the princess is a good person. I've heard the murmurs and gathered all available information around her. Her reputation would appear a mere fabrication to lesser eyes. Yet she expresses kindness when not needed. Humans can be such strange creatures," Alchu commented. "That they are. But I'd rather deal with the princess than with how most humans treat us," Feshik added. "We may be little better than second-class citizens here in the Principality, but it sure does beat being an unrecognized slave forced to do menial work just because we don't fit the strength the hierarchy worships." "Fuck the hierarchy!" Jincho agreed, to which his two companions nodded in agreement. "But no more? Now we can work and have good, better lives. And I get to work on so many wonderful things. Now we must hurry. I want to get this over with so I can gut that ship as soon as possible." "Then why did you come in the first place?" "You're not exactly the most diplomatic of us," Alchu asked. "I'm sure Jer or Bibuhu could have taken your place, Jincho." "Maybe. But Pretty Eyes asked me to talk with the captured Ikanti. That much I can do for her," Jincho replied as the trio neared the end of the huge central habitat. Already Jincho could see Ferentis personnel working on cataloging everything they could find, setting up perimeters and securing what needed to be secured for the intended purposes they had in mind. Turning his head ever so slightly, the thought of invading the Royal Marine's private channel crossed his mind, but he discarded it as soon as it came to him. He knew Captain Milcades was listening to their conversation, or at least he pretended not to listen. Jincho didn't mind either way. What he really cared about was that the princess put real value in him and his skills. Being appreciated felt so good that his happy chirping returned with a throaty sense of victory, much to Alchu's chagrin. It didn't take long before they reached the entrance that would lead them to where the Ikanti cattle were being accommodated for the time being. A flash of anger and resentment passed through him, turning an otherwise happy chirp into a guttural, raspy call that made his fur and feathers bristle in disgust. "Will you be all right?" Feshik asked, concerned. "We're going to meet a lot of captured soldiers turned cattle, likely. Wouldn't be the first time," Alchu added. "I'll be fine," Jincho replied, his entire body shaking for a second or two. "Even if they know who we are, they can't do anything against him," he said. Understanding came quickly to his companions as the Royal Marine captain followed them closely, acting as their escort. Almost every other human turned their head to gawk at the unlikely sight of a Royal Marine, the elite of the elite in Principality space, protecting 3 Ikanti. It was a sensation that brought back his good mood. A most terrifying option that not even the most fanatical Delgavium would try to kick, Alchu said, ending with a pleased rasp. "Think we'll find chicks?" Fashik asked in a mix of worry and morbid curiosity. "Doubt it. Makes things simpler if there aren't any," Alchu replied. "Stay sharp," Jincho ordered as 2 Marines guarding the entrance stepped forth to salute the Royal Marine. Alchu and Feshik adjusted their postures as the captain made a dismissive hand gesture. "At ease," Milcades replied, stopping behind the considerably smaller trio of Ikanti. The Marines obeyed and stepped aside, giving them ample space to continue. Silently, the group marched forth through the long, sizable corridors of the ship. "Did you expect them to halt our advance?" "Force of habit," Alchu replied, ashamed. "The hierarchy isn't forgiving in many aspects, and they like their chain of command working and respected all the time. It's sacred to most. Inferiors must always show reverence and respect to those above them in rank. Brings order for the most part. And every chick has the damn protocols beaten into them relentlessly the moment they hatch out the egg. Feshik paused for a moment only to glance at the human. Besides that, humans don't tend to have a positive opinion on U.S. Ikanti as a general rule. I understand, Milcades replied simply. Commander Redford Kalin informed everyone of your arrival and presence beforehand. You will not be halted by anyone. Then why are you here? To keep an eye on us? Alchu asked, confused. That is one of my functions. But I'm also present to act as your escort for protection. We've purged the Eternal Garden from its Drazen infestation, but there could be some still hiding. My princess will not tolerate the loss of her head researcher engineer and master technician, and by extension those he is close to. I'm also here to deliver upon the rescued Ikanti a message, Milcades explained. Feshik chirped. I thought you Royal Marines were secretive and brooding. You're not entirely wrong. But in this mission, secrecy is not necessary, Milcades countered. And you chose to remain silent until now because? Alchu questioned, eyes narrowing. Did you try to talk to me? Milcades asked in return. Jincho let out a clicking chirp. Mistakes made by both sides. Too cautious! The rest of their walk passed quickly until they reached a huge, quickly converted empty storage bay that was meant to temporarily house the over 10,000 Ikanti the Drazen had in captivity. There were a few human marines and several dozen auxilia guards and personnel scattered around the huge bay. Their arrival didn't go unnoticed as hundreds of Ikanti set their 3 pairs of eyes on them. Milcades guided them to a small prepared podium overlooking the bay's main level and ushered Jincho to take centerpiece. As soon as he stepped onto the podium, every Ikanti turned to see him and stood at attention. Jincho analyzed the crowd, finding the usual segregation so common on the hierarchy. At the front were the larger, stronger Ikanti, soldiers and warriors. Even in their weakened state, their pride was still present in their postures, unwilling to be broken by the treatment so tenderly given by the Drazen. Then there were small pockets of serviles, regular citizens, farmers, slaves, and more. It didn't surprise him that, at the back, he found the outcasts of hierarchy society, artists, free thinkers, traitors, and other scum deemed unworthy by the hierarchy. What surprised him was that the last group comprised at least a quarter of the total Ikanti present. Jincho removed his helmet and was thankful that the bay had been cleaned alongside his fellow Ikanti, who surely needed a good preening and long bath. Leaning forth until his beak nearly touched a small microphone, he spoke. Hello? My name is Jincho. You're rescued. Silence fell across the bay as a heavy cloak for several moments until a soldier at the front took a step forth. That's it? He asked. You're the speaker we were promised. Outrageous. He's a traitor. Has to be. We must let him speak. Arguments broke out in an instant as every group banded together tightly and proceeded to bicker against everyone at the same time. Feshik and Alchu looked up at Jincho, who, in turn, patiently waited in silence, unfazed and unimpressed by the reaction caused. Perhaps you should stop them, offered Milcades. Let them balk and squawk. They'll tire themselves out soon. See them? There's no leader among them. They're more lost than usual without a clear leader, Jincho replied with apathy. That answer seemed to be enough for the human as he remained silent, watching over the cacophony the Ikanti had created. It took nearly 5 minutes and a few threats of violence from most sides for the chaotic bickering to die down. Jincho took his chance and tapped on the microphone, creating a dull but annoying buzzing sound that made every unprotected Ikanti flinch. Are you done? Yes. Good. Princess Aster asked me to talk to you and reassure you that you're not prisoners. You're not prisoners, he repeated dully. You're rescued. The Drazen are dead. You'll live. As prisoners, shouted one of the farmers. Humans can't be trusted. You're a traitor. Pat! Slave, you work for them, protested a warrior. I am a traitor to the hierarchy, Jincho admitted without hesitation, stunning the audience momentarily. I hate the hierarchy. I fled it. I'm happy here. I'm a technician, an engineer, innovator, researcher. His eyes narrowed. A free thinker and tinkerer. The principality is not a perfect home. Better than the hierarchy for me? Yes! Then why should we listen to anything you say, traitor? protested a soldier. You don't have to. Believe me. Don't believe me. It won't change the facts. You're not prisoners. Have you been badly treated? Have you not been fed? Jincho asked, and the groups turned inward, murmuring between each other. After half a minute of silence, one of the technicians spoke up. Then what are they doing to do with us? Make slaves out of us? Torture us for information? Jincho turned slightly to the Royal Marine captain, three eyes set upon him. Milcades didn't need the podium for his voice to be known. Your fellow Ikanti, Jincho, has been recognized by the second princess of the Astorian Principality, Princess Clara Astor. With him, she sends a message of security and truth. You are not our prisoners. Relations between our nations have always been tense in our long histories. This we acknowledge. Yet past relations will not stop Her Majesty, much less so His Majesty the Prince, from doing what is right. You were taken away from your homes, your nation, unjustly by the Drazen. He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words sink in. With me, Her Royal Majesty Princess Clara delivers unto you the following message and proposition. Those who wish to remain in the Principality may do so by signing a contract of servitude under her direct command aboard her ship, the Noir Navio. Those who wish to return to the hierarchy, you will be safely returned as a gesture of goodwill by His Most Benevolent Majesty, the Prince. You have 3 days to decide before you are transferred to a transport vessel, Milcades finished. Think it over. For yourselves, added Jincho as he stepped down from the podium and put on his helmet again. As soon as it was sealed, he let out a throaty, high-pitched groan. That was so boring. Pretty Eyes will be satisfied? Very, Milcades replied with an edge of humor in his voice. Great! Now take me away. Many projects put on hold. Valuable time wasted. Feshik, Alchu, will you stay? Talk to shitflingers and others? Don't need me, yes? Jincho asked, hopeful. That's why we're here, Alchu replied, turning to Milcades. Hey, is your princess sure about that offer? It's worked for us, but I don't think many of them will accept. That, and I've never heard of a human ship with more than 20 Ikanti on board. It won't cause her problems, right? My princess is unique, Milcades replied puzzingly. She better be, Feshik countered. Let's begin with the ones at the back. We'll probably find a dozen willing to take the offer. Maybe more. Great. You do worthless job. I focus on good one, Jincho declared, urging the Royal Marine to leave by pushing against him. They'll keep you safe, Milcades said to the 2 remaining Ikanti, as a Marine leading a group of auxilia stepped closer. Without saying anything else, the now duo began their walk back down the long, wide, tall corridor. Once they were alone, Milcades cleared his throat. My princess wishes to know, will you be able to repair Maximilian's fighter? Repair impossible with surviving pieces. Make a new one implementing surviving pieces? Yes. Easy! We'll never fly into battle again. But as collection set piece? Priceless, is what she wants. I provide. I give. I deliver, Jincho replied, his happy chirping returning. I do more. Much more! So many secrets to uncover and applications to be made. Modifications. Yes! Many to make. Ideas and dreams merge to create more. You are quite enthusiastic, Milcades remarked. Inspired. Thankful. Eager. So eager. Pretty Eyes lets me work as I want. Hierarchy would kill me in her place. Not her. Not Pretty Eyes. Dangerous? Yes, I like her, said the mad Ikanti engineer and technician, his voice trembling with happiness and a hunger that could only be described as obsessive. Milcades smirked. Just remember to eat and sleep regularly. We'll make an effort to remember. No promises made, Jincho replied happily. Need to cut the Corvette. Pieces for repair and investigation. Fabricator good, better than I've seen before. But gaping holes are many. Damaged armor. Replacements, replacements. I will learn so much. The captain felt his smirk turn into a smile. He really liked the Ikanti, and in his mind he put a tally on his favor. Noir Navio, Clara's quarters. Wyatt felt exhausted as he allowed himself to fall on the couch. His head was throbbing madly, and he was barely able to form coherent thoughts through the pounding pain. He'd just finished his training with Redford, only to be thrown into a long talk with Clara regarding economics, politics, and the methodology of social etiquette. He could pretend to understand the latter. Politics were largely outside his interest, but he'd come to comprehend, and detest even more, the complexities of noble politics. But economics? He was as lost as a headless clicksall running around for several seconds before collapsing on the ground. His undignified performance was only matched by a throaty groan seeking to escape his body. "I hate being a blue blood," Wyatt said before letting out a frustrated sigh. Now, Wyatt, I'm not that terrible a teacher," Clara said from her chair whilst Cynthia served her a cup of steaming hot tea. "I barely understood anything. Compound interests, supply and demand, microeconomics, market viability, on-demand resource extrapolation, taxes, by all the deities and spirits, the taxes, and then having to register all of it through administrators, accountants, and more?" Wyatt sighed again. "I don't even want to know what the banking system even is." "Do you want to help the soon-to-be inhabitants of your barony or not?" Clara asked in a playful tone. Wyatt merely sighed in defeat. "Then, my dear Baron Staples, you need to at the very least know the basics of what you are to do in the future. This barony is nothing more than a trial run for you, a gift and compromise granted by House Ferentis and the new regime of Hago. You could do nothing and let the people fend for themselves if it is such a monumental task for you to handle." "I know. Believe me, I know. I may not really understand all you are trying to teach me, but I know it is important for them and for the future of my house." He shuddered with mild disgust. "And that is why I am so very content to remain as a mere lady. I don't have the time, patience, or desire to deal with such problematic things. Duty is the truest glory," said the red-armored woman, proudly announcing her house's motto. "However, I have heard your cries of emotional anguish. I will replace them for cries of physical anguish," she finished with a playful smirk. "Honestly, at this point, that doesn't sound so bad. Am I going crazy or am I simply insane? Am I really wishing to be slammed on the ground countless times by Cynthia?" Wyatt thought with mirthful dread, unsure what the answer was. Clara's smile widened before she took a sip of her tea. Shaking his head and trying to clear his mind, he asked, "How do you do everything that you do? Both of you?" "My role is far simpler than Clara's," Cynthia began. "I protect her, give advice when needed, and ensure her will is made. My fields of education are extensive yet focused. It is the benefit of our high stations compared to yours, Wyatt. Not to mention that I have the advantage of not only knowledge and history, but a functional infrastructure and systems that work in tandem to maintain the principality as it is." Clara drank her whole cup in a single go before setting the empty cup down. "There is much for you to do for your barony. Don't squander this opportunity, Wyatt. As I said before, this will be a tremendous learning experience. The downfall of many fresh nobles is always tied to two things: hubris and poor understanding of basic economic systems. So many strive for nobility, few achieve it. Even fewer are those who survive past a generation," she said with grim resignation. "But there are so many things to worry about. Where are they going to live? What are they going to eat? What will their jobs be? What and how many resources, tools, clothes, and equipment will be needed? Is it safe? How much should I pay them? How will I pay them?" Wyatt asked dejectedly. "Now imagine for a moment that you are in my or my brother Dearest's place. Extrapolate your barony as the principality as a whole and try to ask yourself 1,000 more questions, each with increasing difficulty and complexity. That is our daily life," Clara declared. "Nobles lead, commoners obey. So simple yet misleading in so many senses." "I don't envy your position even for a second, Clara," Wyatt replied honestly. "I am aware," the blonde princess replied in a gentle tone. "Once you've rested, I will aid you to see what you need to do and oversee for the sake of your barony. For starters, I will teach you what a cooperative system is. Next, there are some noticeable elements within your new subjects. You will need to speak to them directly. Oh! This could provide a simple yet useful practical lesson in diplomacy and trade agreements with Tornell, companies in neighboring systems, and logistical theory. You'll come to enjoy it, Wyatt." "Pardon me if I doubt that'll ever be the case," Wyatt rebuked, causing Cynthia to smile as she poured her princess another cup of tea. "How long will we remain in Hastrung?" "Our stay in the system will depend on two factors: Jincho's delving and tests and the repairs and resupply needed for the Nuarnavio." "We could remain in the system for 3 more weeks up to a month and a half," Clara answered. Wyatt frowned. "The traitors could try to attack again." "They will not," Cynthia countered. "Hastrung is now claimed by House Ferentis. It is recognized as neutral territory. If Duke Draymore is insane enough to launch an attack against us, it will cost him dearly." Right, Wyatt said, nodding in understanding as he remembered what being in neutral territory meant. In the meantime, we will do what we can before we move to our next objective, the assassination of Tamirin Caiston, or Andrew Caiston. All things considered, Andrew will be our target. Tamirin is a coward, cunning, dangerous, and devious. Underestimating him is a grave mistake. But Andrew is direct, strong, and beloved by House Caiston at large and by their vassals. Clara paused momentarily in contemplation. Killing him won't be easy. Wyatt chose to say nothing. Instead, he picked up his datapad and connected to the network. An idea struck him. Quickly, he searched for learning books and found entire libraries dedicated to an immense number of subjects. He'd have no hope of reading them all, but that suited him just fine. The books wouldn't be for him. There was not a single moment of remorse as he began to buy any library that seemed even vaguely useful for the future of his barony. Unseen by him, the blue-haired woman and the princess shared a glance of approval between them.